$1,000 a day at launch. Since then, the course became the #1 best-selling real estate course of all time, and has grown to over 6,000 members in 108 countries. On September 14, 2014, Sirhan shut down Times Square and proposed to lawyer Emilia Bakrakis. On July 7, 2016, the two married in Corfu, Greece, in a Greek church following Sirhan's conversion to the Greek Orthodox Church. A 4-part miniseries, $1 Million Listing New York, Ryan's Wedding chronicled the event and aired on Bravo in fall of 2016. The couple welcomed a daughter in February 2019.
It was the reminder that life is short and anything can happen. Now, there are two ways to approach this. There's the woe is me, my life sucks, I don't have time approach. Or there's the wow, life is really changing. This is my opportunity to ride that change and live the life that I want.
Thank you for visiting risenetwork.tv. Before continuing, please subscribe to our channel to receive notification for more videos. See you here. Robert Toru Kiyosaki, born April 8, 1947, is an American businessman and author. Kiyosaki is the founder of Rich Global LLC and the Rich Dad Company, a private financial education company that provides personal finance and business education to people through books and videos. The company's main revenues come from franchisees of the Rich Dad seminars that are conducted by independent individuals using Kiyosaki's brand name for a fee. He is also the creator of the Cashflow Board and software games to educate adults and children about business and financial concepts. Kiyosaki's seminars in the United States and Canada are conducted in collaboration with a company called Whitney Information Network and are contracted out to local companies as franchisees in other countries. Kiyosaki is the author of more than 26 books, including the international self-published Personal Finance Rich Dad Poor Dad series of books, which has been translated into 51 languages and sold over 41 million copies worldwide. Robert Toru Kiyosaki was born in 1947 in Hilo, then in the territory of Hawaii. A part of the Yonsei generation of Japanese Americans, he was the eldest son of Ralph H. Kiyosaki, 1919 to 1991, an academic educator, and Marjorie O. Kiyosaki, 1921 to 1971, a registered nurse. Kiyosaki was followed by his 3 siblings, sisters Emmy and Beth, and his brother John. Kiyosaki attended Hilo High School and graduated in 1965. Thereafter, most information on Kiyosaki comes from speeches and talks he has made of his life. Per Kiyosaki, he received congressional nominations from Senator Daniel K. Inouye for the U.S. Naval Academy and the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy. He attended the United States Merchant Marine Academy in New York and graduated in 1969 as a deck officer with a Bachelor of Science degree and a commission as a second light in the U.S. Marine Corps. After graduating from college, Kiyosaki took a job with Standard Oil's tanker office as a third mate. Kiyosaki resigned after 6 months to join the Marine Corps, serving as a helicopter gunship pilot during the Vietnam War in 1972, where he was awarded an Air Medal. Per Kiyosaki, he enrolled in a 2-year MBA program at the University of Hawaii at Hilo in 1973, while he still was in the military. He was honorably discharged from the Marine Corps in June 1974. In 1974, Kiyosaki attended the Earhart EST seminars, which he says changed his life. Kiyosaki took a job as a sales associate for Xerox until June 1978. In 1985, Kiyosaki co-founded the Accelerated Learning Institute, a business education company teaching entrepreneurship, investing, and social responsibility. Around this time, he married his second wife, Kim, who had already invested in some real estate in Phoenix. In 1994, Kiyosaki sold the education company. In 1992, Kiyosaki published his first book, If You Want to Be Rich and Happy, Don't Go to School. In his book, he encouraged parents not to send their children to college, and instead to enter the real estate business. In 1997, Kiyosaki launched Cashflow Technologies Incorporated, a business and financial education company that owns and operates the Rich Dad and Cashflow brands. Kiyosaki partnered with Amway to promote his book. As per an interview with Forbes, Kiyosaki's main earnings come through franchisees of the Rich Dad seminars. Kiyosaki operates through a number of companies that he owns fully or in part, and through franchisee arrangements with other companies authorized to use his name for a fee. This includes Rich Dad LLC, Whitney Information Network, Rich Dad Education, and Rich Dad Academy. In addition to publishing several books on business and financial advice, Kiyosaki also wrote the foreword to Tom Wheelwright's 2012 book Tax-Free Wealth. Kiyosaki's financial and business teachings focus on what he calls financial education, generating passive income by focusing on business and investment opportunities, such as real estate investments, businesses, stocks and commodities, with the goal of being able to support oneself by such investments alone and thus achieving true financial independence. He has a series of authors and other experts that he often cites as Rich Dad advisors on real estate investing, financial planning, and avoiding taxes. Kiyosaki uses the term assets for things that put money in one's pocket. He states that assets generate cash inflow, such as stock dividends, rental income from properties, or income from businesses. He defines liabilities as things that devour cash out of one's pocket, such as one's personal residence, consumer loans, car loans, credit card payments, and student loans. Kiyosaki argues that financial leverage is crucial in becoming rich despite the risks from utilizing leverage to achieve financial independence. He stresses the importance of building up an asset first to fund one's liabilities, instead of saving cash or relying on a salary from a traditional job. Robert Kiyosaki also brought the world Rich Dad Poor Dad, which he wrote with Sharon Lecher. He made real estate investing accessible to the everyday American and to many people around the globe. Rich Dad Poor Dad is written in the style of a set of parables, ostensibly based on Kiyosaki's life. The titular Rich Dad is purportedly his friend's father, who accumulated wealth due to entrepreneurship and savvy investing, while the Poor Dad is claimed to be Kiyosaki's own father, who he says worked hard all his life, but never obtained financial security. However, no one has ever proven that Rich Dad, the man who supposedly gave Kiyosaki all his advice for wealthy living, ever existed. Nor has anyone ever documented any vast reserves of wealth earned by Kiyosaki prior to the publication of Rich Dad Poor Dad in 1997. Rich Dad Poor Dad has sold over 32 million copies in more than 51 languages across more than 109 countries, been on the New York Times bestsellers list for over 6 years, launched a series of books and related products, and received positive reviews from some critics. American talk show host and media mogul Oprah Winfrey endorsed the book on her show. Another celebrity supporter is actor Will Smith, who said he taught his son about financial responsibility by reading the book. PBS public television station COS aired a 55-minute presentation of Robert Kiyosaki titled A Guide to Wealth in 2006, which essentially summarizes his Rich Dad Poor Dad book. The book was originally self-published in 1997, before being picked up commercially to become a New York Times bestseller. It has since sold over 32 million copies and become a household name. In his audiobook Choose to Be Rich, Kiyosaki said that every publisher turned him down, and Barnes and Noble refused to stock the book initially. He places his focus upon talk shows and radio show appearances, of which the Oprah Winfrey Show had the biggest influence on book sales. In April 2017, a 20th anniversary edition of was published, and in a preface to this 20th anniversary edition, Robert T. Kiyosaki asserts that an estimated 40 million copies of the book had been sold worldwide. Stephen Paul Jobs, known as Steve Jobs, was an American business magnate, industrial designer, investor, and media proprietor. He was the chairman, the chief executive officer, CEO, and a co-founder of Apple Incorporated, the chairman and majority shareholder of Pixar, a member of the Walt Disney Company's board of directors following its acquisition of Pixar, and the founder, chairman, and CEO of Next. Jobs is widely recognized as a pioneer of the personal computer revolution of the 1970s and 1980s, along with Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak. Jobs was born in San Francisco, California, and put up for adoption. He was raised in the San Francisco Bay Area. He attended Reed College in 1972 before dropping out that same year, and traveled through India in 1974 seeking enlightenment and studying Zen Buddhism. Jobs and Wozniak co-founded Apple in 1976 to sell Wozniak's Apple I personal computer. Together the duo gained fame and wealth a year later with the Apple II, one of the first highly successful mass-produced microcomputers. Jobs saw the commercial potential of the Xerox Alto in 1979, which was mouse-driven and had a graphical user interface, GUI. This led to the development of the unsuccessful Apple Lisa in 1983, followed by the breakthrough Macintosh in 1984, the first mass-produced computer with a GUI. Jobs was forced out of Apple in 1985 after a long power struggle with the company's board and its then CEO John Sculley. That same year, Jobs took a few of Apple's members with him to found Next, a computer platform development company that specialized in computers for higher education and business markets. In addition, he helped to develop the visual effects industry when he funded the computer graphics division of George Lucas's Lucasfilm in 1986. The new company was Pixar, which produced the first 3D computer-animated feature film Toy Story, 1995, and went on to become a major animation studio, producing over 20 films since then. Jobs became CEO of Apple in 1997, following his company's acquisition of Next. He was largely responsible for helping revive Apple, which had been on the verge of bankruptcy. He worked closely with designer Johnny Ive to develop a line of products that had larger cultural ramifications, beginning in 1997 with the Think Different advertising campaign and leading to the iMac, iTunes, iTunes Store, Apple Store, iPod, iPhone, App Store, and the iPad. In 2001, the original Mac OS was replaced with the completely new Mac OS X, now known as Mac OS, based on Next's Next Step platform, giving the OS a modern Unix-based foundation for the first time. The location of the Los Altos home meant that Jobs would be able to attend nearby Homestead High School, which had strong ties to Silicon Valley. He began his first year there in late 1968 along with Bill Fernandez. Fernandez introduced Jobs to Steve Wozniak and would later be Apple's first employee. Neither Jobs nor Fernandez, whose father was a lawyer, came from engineering households, and thus decided to enroll in John McCollum's Electronics I. In 1971, after Wozniak began attending University of California, Berkeley, Jobs would visit him there a few times a week. This experience led him to study in nearby Stanford University's Student Union. Jobs also decided that rather than join the Electronics Club, he would put on light shows with a friend for Homestead's avant-garde jazz program. He was described by a Homestead classmate as kind of a brain and kind of a hippie, but he never fit into either group. He was smart enough to be a nerd, but wasn't nerdy. And he was too intellectual for the hippies, who just wanted to get wasted all the time. He was kind of an outsider. In high school, everything revolved around what group you were in, and if you weren't in a carefully defined group, you weren't anybody. Around that time, Wozniak designed a low-cost digital blue box to generate the necessary tones to manipulate the telephone network, allowing free long-distance calls. Jobs decided then to sell them and split the profit with Wozniak. The clandestine sales of the illegal blue boxes went well, and perhaps planted the seed in Jobs's mind that electronics could be both fun and profitable. Jobs, in a 1994 interview, recalled that it took 6 months for him and Wozniak to figure out how to build the blue boxes. Jobs later reflected that had it not been for Wozniak's blue boxes, there wouldn't have been an Apple. He states it showed them that they could take on large companies and beat them. In February 1974, Jobs returned to his parents' home in Los Altos and began looking for a job. He was soon hired by Atari Incorporated in Los Gatos, California, which gave him a job as a technician. Back in 1973, Steve Wozniak designed his own version of the classic video game Pong and gave the board to Jobs. According to Wozniak, Atari only hired Jobs because he took the board down to the company, and they thought that he had built it himself. Atari's co-founder Nolan Bushnell later described him as difficult, but valuable, pointing out that he was very often the smartest guy in the room, and he would let people know that. During this period, Jobs and Brennan remained involved with each other while continuing to see other people. By early 1974, Jobs was living what Brennan describes as a simple life in a Los Gatos cabin, working at Atari, and saving money for his impending trip to India. By March 1976, Wozniak completed the basic design of the Apple I computer and showed it to Jobs, who suggested that they sell it. Wozniak was at first skeptical of the idea, but later agreed. In April of that same year, Jobs, Wozniak, and administrative overseer Ronald Wayne founded Apple Computer Company, now called Apple Incorporated, as a business partnership in Jobs' parents' Chris drive home on April 1, 1976. The operation originally started in Jobs' bedroom and later moved to the garage. Wayne stayed only a short time, leaving Jobs and Wozniak as the active primary co-founders of the company. The two decided on the name Apple after Jobs returned from the All-One Farm commune in Oregon and told Wozniak about his time spent in the farm's apple orchard. Jobs originally planned to produce bare printed circuit boards of the Apple I and sell them to computer hobbyists for $50 each. To raise the money they needed to build the first batch of the circuit boards, Wozniak sold his HP Scientific calculator and Jobs sold his Volkswagen van. Later that year, computer retailer Paul Terrell purchased 50 fully assembled units of the Apple I from them for $500 each. Jobs was worth over $1 million in 1978, when he was just 23 years old. His net worth grew to over $250 million by the time he was 25, according to estimates. He was also one of the youngest people ever to make the Forbes list of the nation's richest people, and one of only a handful to have done it themselves, without inherited wealth. In 1983, Jobs lured John Sculley away from Pepsi-Cola to serve as Apple's CEO, asking, "Do you want to spend the rest of your life selling sugared water, or do you want a chance to change the world?" On January 22, 1984, Apple aired a Super Bowl television commercial titled 1984, which ended with the words, "On January 24th, Apple Computer will introduce Macintosh. And you'll see why 1984 won't be like 1984." Sculley's and Jobs' respective visions for the company greatly differed. The former favored open architecture computers like the Apple II, sold to education, small business, and home markets less vulnerable to IBM. Jobs wanted the company to focus on the closed architecture Macintosh as a business alternative to the IBM PC. President and CEO Sculley had little control over chairman of the board Jobs' Macintosh division. It and the Apple II division operated like separate companies, duplicating services. Although its products provided 85% of Apple's sales in early 1985, the company's January 1985 annual meeting did not mention the Apple II division or employees. Many left, including Wozniak, who stated that the company had been going in the wrong direction for the last 5 years and sold most of his stock. Despite being frustrated with the company's, including Jobs himself, dismissal of the Apple II employees in favor of the Macintosh, Wozniak left amicably and remained an honorary employee of Apple, maintaining a friendship with Jobs until his death. In 1985, Bill Gates' then developing company, Microsoft, threatened to stop developing Mac applications unless it was granted a license for the Mac operating system software. Microsoft was developing its graphical user interface, for DOS, which it was calling Windows, and didn't want Apple to sue over the similarities between the Windows GUI and the Mac interface. Sculley granted Microsoft the license, which later led to problems for Apple. In addition, cheap IBM PC clones that ran on Microsoft software and had a graphical user interface began to appear. Although the Macintosh preceded the clones, it was far more expensive, so through the late 1980s, the Windows user interface was getting better, and was thus taking increasingly more share from Apple. Jobs touted it as the first interpersonal computer that would replace the personal computer. With its innovative NextEmail multimedia email system, NextCube could share voice, image, graphics, and video in email for the first time. Interpersonal computing is going to revolutionize human communications and group work, Jobs told reporters. Jobs ran Next with an obsession for aesthetic perfection, as evidenced by the development of and attention to NextCube's magnesium case. This put considerable strain on Next's hardware division, and in 1993, after having sold only 50,000 machines, Next Step/Intel. The company reported its first yearly profit of $1.03 million in 1994. In 1986, Jobs funded the spin-out of the graphics group, later renamed Pixar, from Lucasfilm's computer graphics division for the price of $10 million, $5 million of which was given to the company as capital, and $5 million of which was paid to Lucasfilm for technology rights. The first film produced by Pixar, with its Disney partnership, Toy Story, 1995, with Jobs credited as executive producer, brought financial success and critical acclaim to the studio when it was released. Over the course of Jobs' life, under Pixar's creative chief John Lasseter, the company produced box office hits A Bug's Life, Toy Story 2, Monsters Incorporated, Finding Nemo, The Incredibles, Cars, Ratatouille, WALL-E, Up, Toy Story 3, and Cars 2. Finding Nemo, The Incredibles, Ratatouille, WALL-E, Up and Toy Story 3 each received the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature, an award introduced in 2001. Brave, Pixar's first film to be produced since Jobs' death, honored him with a tribute for his contributions to the studio. In 2003 and 2004, as Pixar's contract with Disney was running out, Jobs and Disney chief executive Michael Eisner tried, but failed to negotiate a new partnership, and in January 2004, Jobs announced that he would never deal with Disney again. Pixar would seek a new partner to distribute its films after its contract expired. In October 2005, Bob Iger replaced Eisner at Disney, and Iger quickly worked to mend relations with Jobs and Pixar. On January 24, 2006, Jobs and Iger announced that Disney had agreed to purchase Pixar in an all-stock transaction worth $7.4 billion. With the purchase of Next, much of the company's technology found its way into Apple products, most notably Next Step, which evolved into Mac OS X. Under Jobs' guidance, the company increased sales significantly with the introduction of the iMac and other new products. Since then, appealing designs and powerful branding have worked well for Apple. The company subsequently branched out, introducing and improving upon other digital appliances. With the introduction of the iPod portable music player, iTunes digital music software, and the iTunes Store, the company made forays into consumer electronics and music distribution. On June 29, 2007, Apple entered the cellular phone business with the introduction of the iPhone, a multi-touch display cell phone, which also included the features of an iPod and, with its own mobile browser, revolutionized the mobile browsing scene. While nurturing open-ended innovation, Jobs also reminded his employees that real artists ship. In October 2003, Jobs was diagnosed with cancer. In mid-2004, he announced to his employees that he had a cancerous tumor in his pancreas. The prognosis for pancreatic cancer is usually very poor. Jobs stated that he had a rare, much less aggressive type, known as islet cell neuroendocrine tumor. Despite his diagnosis, Jobs resisted his doctor's recommendations for medical intervention for 9 months, instead relying on alternative medicine to thwart the disease. According to Harvard researcher Ramzi Omri, his choice of alternative treatment led to an unnecessarily early death. Other doctors agree that Jobs' diet was insufficient to address his disease. However, cancer researcher and alternative medicine critic David Gorski wrote that it's impossible to know whether, and by how much he might have decreased his chances of surviving his cancer through his flirtation with Wu. My best guess was that Jobs probably only modestly decreased his chances of survival, if that. Barry R. Castleth, the chief of Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center's Integrative Medicine Department, said, Jobs's faith in alternative medicine likely cost him his life. He had the only kind of pancreatic cancer that is treatable and curable. He essentially committed suicide. According to Jobs's biographer, Walter Isaacson, for 9 months he refused to undergo surgery for his pancreatic cancer, a decision he later regretted as his health declined. Instead, he tried a vegan diet, acupuncture, herbal remedies, and other treatments he found online, and even consulted a psychic. He was also influenced by a doctor who ran a clinic that advised juice fasts, bowel cleansings, and other unproven approaches, before finally having surgery in July 2004. He eventually underwent a pancreaticoduodenectomy, or Whipple procedure, in July 2004 that appeared to remove the tumor successfully. Jobs did not receive chemotherapy or radiation therapy. During Jobs' absence, Tim Cook, head of worldwide sales and operations at Apple, ran the company. His career started in 2007, a year after taking part in the photo shoot to pay rent. Sirhan played the first role of Evan Walsh in the soap opera The Turn of the World. When his acting career slowed down, he turned to hand styling, posing for products such as AT&T mobile phones and Nespresso pods. However, due to little interest in manual modeling for a lifetime, Sirhan turned his focus to real estate sales at the urging of a friend. Ryan Matthew Sirhan, born July 2, 1984, is an American real estate agent, writer, and TV personality. He is currently acting like Sirhan in Bravo's TV series $1 Million Listing in New York and its spin-off show. Sirhan runs a New York real estate company. Born in Houston, Texas, Sirhan was raised in Topsfield, Massachusetts, on the North Shore of Massachusetts, where he attended the Pingree School. Sirhan credits his father, John Sirhan, vice chairman of State Street Global Advisors, for teaching him to work hard at a young age. One summer, under his father's watch, Sirhan and his younger brother Jack collected wood for $1.50 an hour, which they, in turn, sold to neighbors as firewood. This first entrepreneurial experience taught Sirhan the value of hard work and earning a dollar. Sirhan spent most of his summers with his family in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, where he pursued his interest in theater and arts, attending Perry Mansfield Performing Arts School and camp. Later, he attended Hamilton College, where he double majored in English literature and theater, and was a member of the Delta Kappa Epsilon fraternity. After graduating in 2006, Sirhan moved to New York City to launch his acting career. In 2008, against the backdrop of the Lehman Brothers bankruptcy and the subprime mortgage industry collapse, Sirhan ventured into the New York real estate market. He initially earned his real estate license as a means of supporting himself while auditioning for acting roles in lieu of bartending. During his first year, Sirhan worked to solicit new real estate business in creative ways, including distributing flyers which declared himself the #1 broker in New York City, and approaching shoppers well endowed with purchases on the streets of NYC. During his first year in real estate, he earned just $9,000. After a year-long pursuit, he closed his first major sale of $8.5 million. By 2012, The Real Deal had ranked Sirhan number 15 out of the 100 most successful agents in New York. Hired at Nest Seekers International in 2008, Sirhan became Executive Vice President and Managing Director. In 2012, he launched his bicoastal brokerage team, the Sirhan Team, which consists of over 60 people in New York City, New Jersey, Los Angeles, Miami, and the Hamptons. His team specializes in high-end residential condo and co-op sales, homes, and new development sales. Sirhan's team has set price per square foot sales records across Manhattan, Brooklyn and Long Island City, and have a list-to-sale ratio of 94.5%. In 2017, his team closed $838 million in total Manhattan real estate deals. In 2019, the Serhant team completed over $1.4 billion in total transactions. On September 15, 2020, Serhant announced he was starting his own real estate firm, Serhant. The firm has quickly grown into one of the most active real estate companies in the United States, using their large social media exposure of over 3.6 million followers to sell properties, such as the $33 million penthouse at ART Surfside in Miami and 809 Madison Avenue in New York for $69 million.
So you're making that claim, I am the greatest
Yeah.
real estate agent.
That's my affirmation. I did it publicly to everyone in the world, and I also did it in my own head. Like, who's to stop me? Like, no one will ever tell me to stop selling, right? No one will ever tell me that I sold too much. So if I wake up every single day and say I'm the greatest real estate broker ever, it might not be true today, but it will be true eventually.
So how important is that affirmation? Like just talk about for
Massively.
you.
Yeah,
What people are saying to themselves every
the
day.
power of positivity, the power of yes, right? Say yes and figure it out later. Stay positive. And, I always kind of look at it like you're driving in a car, right? And there are two types of people. One person looks out the right window where it's sunny. The other person looks out the left window where it's cloudy. And you both made the same choice to look out a window. One just decides to see a different type of weather. And for me, it's always been like, okay, so it's my choice to wake up upset. Bad things can happen. It's okay to get pissed off, right? And it always happen, and balls will always fall. But it is your choice to wake up positively or negatively. And so I've always just made the choice, even if I'm gritting it and I hate it, and I really want to be pissed off, and I want people to comfort me, and I want to feel bad. That's not a choice I'm willing to make because I know it's going to affect my day, and no one wants to buy anything from someone who's pissed off, right? They want to buy something from someone who's enthusiastic.